Welcome back to the show.
9 to noon.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a Talker Tuesday, and a 9 to noon is in the air. Let's begin with Timberwolves head coach Chris Finch. Thanks to Second Harvest Heartland, 2harvest.org, and Prize Picks. Hey there, Coach, and thanks for the time. Good morning.
Good morning, PA. How are you doing today?
All right, my man. 8-game winning streak stopped by the Pacers last night. They were down 4 starters and lost the 5th when Nembhard was tossed. So on a back-to-back, any part of the loss maybe play into the guys thinking they had that band of backups anytime they wanted them?
Yeah, I definitely think that the game was pretty much lost with the first half. You know, I didn't like our energy. I didn't think our approach was on point. PA, I thought we did a good job of turning it around, but then when you do that, you know, you make it a shot making exercise, and they made some big shots, and they had the confidence to do so, and they made enough at just the right times to get the win. You know, they still have a bunch of good bench players, role players that went to the Eastern Conference Finals. It wasn't like they played a bunch of guys who hadn't never played in the NBA before.
Right.
And they're a really good offensive team in particular. They play fast, they move the ball well, they share it. And sometimes when you are missing like your key guys, the ball moves a little bit better and everybody becomes a little bit more of a unknown threat, if you will. But you know, we certainly let one drop last night that you know, with the way things are shaping up here in the West, we're gonna have needed that one.
I thought you had them every step of the way. Every step of the way, even in the first half. I mean, I was just wondering what you were saying to them at halftime, and I was thinking it was kind of like, guys, really? You know, and then they come out and you open up a double-digit lead. Did you kind of feel that way in the second half, that like, hey, you know, some things aren't on par with what we've seen during the 8-game winning streak, but we're still going to win this game? Did you feel that?
Oh, absolutely. I felt that we'd win the game. I just, I'm normally when I look at a game after we win or lose, I always try to identify the one place that, you know, the game turned for us, either for us or against us. I talked about the start, and I believe that, you know, we didn't give ourselves enough margin for error for the poor start we had. But when we were up 8 with about 5 minutes to go, I think we were up 5 with about 3 minutes to go, and then they come down and we get lazy on a little pick and go underneath it, and they make a 3, and now it's a 2-point game, and we come down and we take a challenge 3 at the other end of the floor. And I think that was really the point where the game was now going to be a toss-up, because we should have controlled the end of that game better with our shot selection, and we could have closed it out with our defenses, which is where we're actually really good at the end of games, is getting stop after stop after stop.
Right. With Rudy Gobert, Chris, is it props to Rudy for sticking up for Conley with the shoulder shot to Nembhard, or just block the shot and turn the other cheek? How do you see that?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I thought, first of all, clearly a foul on Nembhard, on Mike, hit him in the face as he drove by him. That was uncalled. You know, Rudy was wanted to take a hard foul, stand up for his guy. Didn't think that the block, the shot, or the Rudy foul there was worthy of a 2, flagrant 2. I thought certainly maybe a flagrant 1, but not a 2. And I thought it was just a hard foul for someone driving to the basket. But yeah, I mean, that's Rudy. That's what we love about him. He's super fiery. He's competitive. He's got his teammates back, and particularly Mike. And so can't fault him for that.
What you clearly, after he was ejected, I mean, you were irate. What mistake do you feel was made, and the fact that you believe he shouldn't have been ejected?
Well, it was definitely a hard foul. There's no doubt about it. He kind of leads in with his shoulder. but there was no windup, there was no extension, there was no follow through, and I didn't think it reached the level of what they define as a flagrant 2. They said, "Oh, it's a non-basketball move." Well, there's a lot of non-basketball moves out there that are called fouls. I mean, but I just, I thought he just lowered him his shoulder and he kind of, stood his ground, and Nembhard ran into a big wall. And so I didn't think, I thought flagrant 1, I can live with that, get the game back under control. But like Rudy said as he exited the floor, if they just call the first foul, which is the foul to the Conley's face
right
on the drive, then none of that happens. And that's the problem we have, is that we miss too many of the initial, and we always are playing catch up when we're trying to sort this stuff out.
Obi Toppin, he goes 4 for 4 in overtime, hit a deep wing 3, and eventually the game winner, falling away in the left corner. Alexander Walker's defense on the final 3, I thought was terrific. What did you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we knew when McConnell was probing the baseline, we talked about it, to try to get home and cover up the shooters, and Nikhil did a great job of doing that. Toppin moved up the floor, then he moved back down the floor to the corner, and he had him covered both ways. Just kind of won the battle of a 6'9" guy over a 6'7" guy. I mean, it was a tough shot falling away.
Right.
Probably doesn't go in most times, most nights, but again, that's on us for leaving that, margin for error, and you get burned by these things.
Well, with that wing 3, the deep one in front of his bench that he hit before that, it's almost like McDaniels let him shoot it. And wouldn't you give Obi those shots 10 of 10 times? And last night he happened to have good fortune on his side.
Yeah, he did. He shot the ball well, but he had been shooting the ball well all game. And that was a switch, and we just didn't switch up, aggressive enough to take away his rhythm to shoot it. I believe you're talking about the one he banked in. And that was a misfortune, but again, like we had to be better there of just kind of taking him off the 3-point line.
Yeah, the game was crazy, man. I mean, from the no-namers they had playing out of their minds. Then you go on that run where DiVincenzo hit that 3 and the bench went nuts. I mean, that was just high-level excitement. You talk about Obi's bank. Conley had a bank. I mean, it was, granted you lost, but I mean, that was a crazy game last night, wasn't it?
It certainly was. It was entertaining. Both teams, they brought a level of shot making to it. A lot of timeless shots as well. And, we face those guys in a week, and I'm sure they'll be a little bit more at full strength. So it'll be a good one. We learned a lot last night.
Chris Finch, courtesy of Second Harvest Heartland and Prize Picks, weekly 9 to noon. Oh, and of course, Denver beats Golden State and did so down Jokic and Murray. Is that some serendipity from last night's loss? Because the Warriors have been super hot.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, we dodged a little bit of a bullet there. We managed to stay kind of neck and neck. But if, I look at it as like a lost opportunity as much as anything else. I mean, you never know what's going to happen around the league on any given night. And you got to take care of your own business, and nothing else really matters. But it made me feel maybe 2% better, I guess.
Yeah, it was and I'm sure you know this, but it was a crazy night around the league last night, man. I mean, that version of the Pacers beat you guys. You guys are the hottest team in the NBA. Malone's team goes in down its best 2 players, beats Golden State. Warriors a big favorite. Philadelphia pushed Houston into an unbelievable overtime game where it looked like Philly was going to go into Houston and win, and Houston had been red hot. So it was a crazy night last night. Now, you said willingness to want to share the ball wasn't there last night, and it was a big step back from what in part led to 8 consecutive wins. What was that personified end of regulation when McDaniels was open for a 3, or couldn't Anthony get it there because he fumbled it?
Yeah, I think he fumbled it. I think the fumble has cost us that opportunity more than anything else.
Right.
But I thought like we spent the first part of last night's game just kind of what I call fighting the game. There are easy plays to be made, whether they were, in the paint and kick out to the perimeter, or kind of two around the ball and swing it to the guy open next to you, or just the stuff that we've been doing at such a high level. Just kind of sharing the ball and getting to 30 assists without even blinking. Last night we had 25 assists in an overtime game. Now we did have a lot of free throws, so that's takes assists off the board. But having said that, I just thought we spent the time fighting the game, and then we got ourselves in a mindset. Sometimes, okay, now we're going to look to, we became a little bit robotic. Instead of making the play that was there, we tried to force something that wasn't there, and then the next time down we would do the opposite when the opposite was actually called for. So it just fell out of whack a lot offensively last night. And then most importantly, we went through a period where we had a chance to really take control of the game, and we come down with a couple really quick, wild shots in transition. And if they go in, we probably blow the game open, but we didn't need to swing for the fences right there. We could have kept executing and driving to the hoop and doing things that we had known were working.
Chris, you mentioned the importance of discovering where the team's flaws are and covering them. And when you said it, you started with that your team's not the fastest of foot, okay, and ended with when Rudy's on the floor, we have to rebound better. So are you sensing like more contact and or box out and stuff are required?
For sure. I mean, we've been an inconsistent rebounding team all season. Where it rears its head the most is down the stretch. The ability we've been forcing a lot of stops in clutch time, but we've given up too many second chance opportunities in clutch time. Now last night, I don't think that was necessarily the case. I just thought maybe in the first half they put numbers on the board and we weren't able to get bodies on them. They came in waves, and we didn't play with enough force and physicality on the glass last night as we needed to.
So maybe a case in point from last night, would it be like Pacer center Tony Bradley, who never plays? I mean, he never plays. He personifies a journeyman, and he had 9 rebounds. Keeping guys like that and Obi Toppin off the boards, right?
For sure. No doubt about it. They did a good job of getting to the heart of our defense early and put us in rotations, and that oftentimes leaves avenues to the rim to box out, particularly if you're not, covering one more rotation to the rim. So, and that's the thing that was missing last night.
A few more for Chris Finch, head coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Got his 200th victory over the weekend when the team beat Utah for 8 consecutive. And when you say getting players to do things with which they are not necessarily comfortable, how key is that moving forward, and what exactly does it mean?
Yeah, I think it's just another way to kind of define what role acceptance is. I think players we would never ask them to play outside their comfort level, but it's just what does the team need from you to do in certain moments or all the time. And, just getting them to embrace that. And I think Julius Randle's been a great example of that. Julius has been a high volume scorer in the NBA for a long, long time. But for us, we need him to score, of course, but we also need him to play make and rebound and guard and create pace and do a lot of other little things that takes a lot of energy. So, he's done an excellent job of really leaning into that. And that's been key to, our kind of, last couple months of good play. And
ain't no doubt that, that there were times last night for you guys where you played into them winning. I mean, no doubt about that. But, I left that thing last night, man, where there were some tip the cap moments to the opponent. I mean, Carlisle's a wonderful coach. They were strapped. Yeah. They eventually lost all 5 of their starters after the ejection. And, okay, you lost. But, I mean, I'm like, I got to tip my cap to Obi Toppin for what he did in overtime, especially. TJ McConnell, I mean, he's a super scrappy player near the end of his career. He was fantastic. And Thomas Bryant, man, on that last play against Julius, just to stand there and technically do it to perfection defensively in the key.
Yeah.
I mean, you just got to tip your cap sometimes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they deserve to win that game, no doubt about it. They played better than us. They made a lot of big shots and big plays at the right time. They, every time it felt like we were going to take control of the game, they came right back in the game and made it a game again. It never felt like we had control of the game, even when we were, kind of up in the second half. We just felt like we couldn't make the big shot to put them away. We missed a bunch of wide open threes. They didn't miss those threes, so they deserved that win last night, and all credit to them.
Last one, maybe two more here, and I appreciate the time. You were asked about the team's personality last night, and I immediately thought it's that of joy, and we even saw it last night, at times. But you said timid and stressed a need to fight through it. So how much was that the case during the 8 consecutive wins, or was that kind of just a one-game thing?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I like where our team is at. I really do. We have some, like all teams, we have some fatal flaws that come up from time to time, and last night was a bit of an example of that, whether it be we talked about our start or our finish. Those are things that at times have troubled us. But I do like the connectivity and the purpose that the guys have played with for months now. They do enjoy playing with each other. I would say that's a good assessment of our personality, is a joyous one. They play hard. They do the things that we need them to do most night in terms of executing the game plan, so they're locked in there. You're not going to go 82-0. Again, it's a loss on paper that we thought would be a win if you just looked at it on paper, but you got to play the games, and they, as you just said, made a lot of really good plays to beat us as well. So,
by the way, lastly and in closing, your anticipatory skills were high end last night, and here's what I mean. You've had to talk with the refs so much this season. You now beat them to their spot before they get there, like on the side out play by your bench very early in the game. It's you were getting into somebody, and then he goes to throw the ball to the guy who's inbounding it, and you hopped over to the spot because you knew where he was going to be. Do you remember that moment?
I don't exactly remember that one. But no, I thought last night, didn't have too much of a problem with the officiating. Just around the Rudy incident, I thought was a little bit harsh, but
yeah.
In general, our guys have been doing a good job leaving the referees alone and letting them get on with it. And I think it's resulted in better play for us.
Greatly appreciate you, and tear it up versus New Orleans, and we'll chat next week. Okay.
All right. Thanks, PA. Take care.
Yep. See you, bud. That's Chris Finch, head coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves. We're very fortunate to have him weekly, 9 to noon, courtesy of Second Harvest Heartland and Prize Picks. For those who missed it, all hail the Howl. We still howl.
Yeah.
And it was a crazy, wild, kind of rodeo-like game last night. And Obi Toppin decided to be the sheriff, busting through the saloon passage with guns ablazing, and the Timberwolves took an overtime L.
Reggie Miller was bending the knee last night to what Obi was doing.
Yeah, especially in overtime, that fall away three in the corner. Alexander Walker's up in his mug. The reference I had earlier in the show, I think Chris mistook the three I was talking about, because there was about a 28-footer by Obi Toppin in overtime and in front of his bench. Basically in front of his bench, kind of like between the scorer's table and the bench. And Jaden McDaniels let him take that shot. Well, you know what? I'm letting Obi Toppin take 28-foot three-pointers, too.
All day.
All day in America. And he hit it. And that's that kind of was a common thread last night. Very interesting yesterday, 9 to noon. Wolves, Warriors, Warriors, Wolves. We chase, they win. We chase, they win. Denver goes into Golden State last night without Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. They're down their best two players, and they put a whooping on a full-strength Golden State Warrior squad.
Well, did you see how vintage Russ was last night with nearly 20 dimes? I mean, the shooting's still preposterously bad.
Trip dub.
But Russell Westbrook and then Aaron Gordon with a night last night, high percentage, a bunch of triples. They had them. And all we had to do was get by Indy, and the bet was settled from the flip-flopping of 6 and 7.
Yeah.
Obi Toppin.
It just
we got Obi Toppin.
It just shows you the more things change, the more they stay the same. But sometimes the ways and means are what become rearranged. And what that means is the Pacers weren't supposed to beat the Wolves last night, and the Nuggets weren't supposed to beat the Warriors.
Yeah.
They both were massive underdogs, and they both got the money last night. So now we sprint together, percentage points behind Golden State, trying to jettison that diseased play-in scenario.
I believe we are Bucks fans this evening, PA, if that is accurate.
Oh, Warriors go back-to-back.
I believe it is Bucks this evening, as I just scrambled to verify that. It is indeed Bucks tonight, 9 p.m.
Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.
Go Dame. Go Giannis.
Yep.
Go Bucks.
And go Bucks. Go Giannis, and let's go ahead and, in honorary fashion, we're going to jettison this today.
In your face, Milwaukee.
You ain't going to be hearing any of this today.
In your face, Milwaukee!
Go Bucks, go Giannis.
Go Brook Lopez.
Go Brook Lopez, go Dame, and go Aaron Sickman, who's a Bucks fan. He has a game-worn Brian Winters jersey.
Go Cindy.
From days gone by. And speaking of Sicky, he is the media relations guru for the Minnesota Wild, and he had to be quite happy last night. In fact, I'm sure winning was fun. Hopefully everybody planned accordingly. The Minnesota Wild, as big underdogs at home, on an underdog-laden Monday, they got the money against la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la. We'll discuss that next, part of the Timber Check What's on Deck set list, which does include scribe Ben Gessling, covers the Vikings for the Star Tribune. Ben claims to have some new context to the ad nauseum conversation about Aaron Rodgers and what's next for him. Looking forward to that. That'll be at about 10 o'clock. And Greg Papa, the talented play-by-play voice for the San Francisco 49ers, also hosts a very popular radio show in the Bay Area for KNBR. He's going to tell us what we're getting in Jordan Mason and chat more about that at 11 o'clock. Nordo produces, and I'm Paul Allen. We're all here snuggled up together on this Talker Tuesday at FM 100.3, KFAN, and good morning. The other side of the story and the other side of town.
Thank you, St. Paul.
After the weekend performance with St. Louis giving us the blues, losing 5-1, and much teeth gnashing, vitriol shared, and angst displayed, given the urgency associated with this time of the season and a season-long playoff team in the Minnesota Wild, a team that has had problems winning home games up until late. This team, I believe, has one of the, if not the best records on the road during the course of the season. But becoming road warriors and segueing that to holding the metaphorical court at home it's been Obi Toppin. It's been Oben topsy-turvy Toppin this season. Well, off the weekend against the Blues, I was curious in watching this and the Wolves last night. What would the response be to what people deemed an embarrassing loss to the St. Louis Blues?
Thank you, St. Paul.
And the LA Kings are right in front of the Minnesota Wild and are kind of hot right now. Let's go over to the response desk. And here is Miko Nordo.
Well, there's been so much conversation from Vox in the Box, the last victory against the Avs last week. And, well, it's been about dictating, and I'm happy to report on a St. Paddy's Day in St. Paul, the Wild did just that. But as part of that, PA, we've been looking for who's going to step up. Is it going to be Matt Boldy? How about Ryan Hartman?
Shot by Spurgeon. He scores! Right off the draw! The captain delivers. It's a power play goal! And the Wild have tied this game at 1.
2 assists for Jared Spurgeon last night, but it was Hartman with the tip and Hartman after the game.
What are we, 7? We're 7 points into a playoff spot. I think it kind of got over talked about how bad things were going. I mean, we've been playing good hockey. I know that wasn't a great game for us, but we got to continue to push every night. We're in a good spot. We've been good all year, and if we can seal up, try to get that 3rd spot, we're not satisfied with where we're at.
Hartman with the old things have been over talked about.
Guys, we've been good.
Right. Well, they have. And what he said, I'm not going to say that a 5-1 loss to the Blues and the way things developed has been over talked about. People have their opinions with the way the trade deadline was handled, and they have a right to those opinions. And the fact that, the team scored 3 goals last night. And, getting to 3 has been an extreme challenge for this team since not having the likes of Kirill Kaprizov, then Joel Eriksson Ek, then Jonas Brodin. So I'm not going to say it's been over talked about. I would look at the other side and the fact that if people weren't talking about it, then they're becoming apathetic to the product. So the fact that they get loud about things they desire, specifically those who pay money for their tickets to sell out XL Energy Center, I don't agree with the over talked about part. What I do agree with is at the end when Ryan Hartman said, paraphrasing, we've done a lot this season, by the way. That road record ain't easy. And we amassed a lot of points in a short amount of time, like October, November, December, in case things like this happen. Well, he's absolutely right with that. So that was a good clip right there.
Well, and Zuccarello, again, the idea of guys stepping up. In the Avalanche game, it was Zuki. Last night, it was Zuki.
The goal line, Boldy. Matt Boldy, cross ice, Zuccarello, left circle. Fire the shot. He scores!
Hey.
Matt Zuccarello! With 4:38 to go, the Wild have a 2-1 lead.
By the way, we like power play goals. We like special teams. Didn't like the shorty or the shorthanded goal we allowed on the Kings power play early on. But Zuccarello with the tally. And Zuccarello after the game, why'd you, how long has it been since you celebrated a goal that hard?
I don't know. I just felt my game was terrible. I couldn't feel the goal game and bounce, and then I get a goal. It means a lot for everyone here, when you lose like that and you're everyone feeling a little, doesn't go the way that we wanted to go. So, I know I'm old, but I can still be happy and emotional when we, as a team, play hard and we get a win out of it. So,
hey, props to Zuki. Seriously.
Yeah.
Thank you, St. Paul.
My man's like 37 years of age. All right. So they have some elder statesmen on this team. And, while human nature is going to guide people, generally speaking, in the world of sports, to focus on things that are not happening that they feel should be happening. And that would involve Boldy and or Rossi and scoring punch or lack thereof. And that's impactful. And it's very, very accurate. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, the old guy without his dog on his line, Kirill Kaprizov, let's not forget how smooth Zuki was in that shootout against Colorado. And here's old Zuki with a goal last night. The elder statesman got excited and kind of elevated everything last night. That all of those things right there play into somebody naturally being a leader.
Yeah.
And he scores that goal. Zuki's playing pretty well right now from what I understand. Oh, by the way, the Wild was down Marcus Foligno last night too. So you got Kirill, you got Exy, you got Brodsy, and you have Foligno-Z. They're all down. And Foligno, heart and soul of the team, man, when it comes to laying down the law and setting things up. So that was another fly in the proverbial ointment last night. But meanwhile, through all of that, down his dog on his line, 37 years of age, Zuki. Just keeps leading the way. Let's go, Zuki.
If you're not going to get Boldy in the net, you're not going to get Rossi in the net. We got Zuki in the net last night.
Yep.
And keeping pucks out of the net, Gus did his thing, but he needed help last night, PA. I don't know if you saw this on social. It was the play of the game from a guy, if you remember Vikes in the Box, we saw Hines in this verbal apocalyptic matchup with John Merrill. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I don't know if he was getting healthy scratched and things were super negative.
It was 2 Vikes in the Boxes ago, and he was being informed right before our very ears, because it's radio, that he was getting scratched.
Yeah.
And he didn't like it.
He didn't like it.
He had an opinion.
He did.
And then Heinze and Merrill, they had to step away from the skate.
Head coach had the final say.
They had to go over to the half wall because somebody had a full opinion, and we saw it. What happened last night? I missed this.
Well, Gus is caught, just fast motion. He's caught a little bit out and far post.
Yeah.
Net's wide open.
Oh, no.
It's going to be second goal of the night.
Merrill Z.
For the Kings. John Merrill, stick in crease, knocks puck out, saves the day. Here he is on it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. A little bit of a breakdown, and we were all kind of scrambling. And we talked about coming into this game and just doing whatever it took to get the win and playing desperate and being there for each other. And that's all I was trying to do, just be there for Gus. And got lucky to hit my stick.
There and more for Merrill.
For sure, it was a huge win against a team that's hot, and they've been playing really well. We knew that, and like I said again, we talked this morning about just coming out and playing and just throwing everything at them, playing hard, playing for each other, and I'm really proud of this group tonight.
How about Merrill Z?
Wow, 14 shifts, 12 and a half minutes. He blocked 2 shots. Merrill Z, he's back in the chat.
He is.
Damn. Okay. And by the way,
and whether that's because of injury or otherwise, he's with us and he's making plays.
That's hockey. Or as the former co-host used to say, that's hockey. Of all 4 of the core, hockey's the one where stuff like this happens the most. Like in the NBA, at this stage of the season, Philadelphia leading Houston by 6 points with like a minute and a half to go. Philadelphia, that ratty squad, down Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid. And they're playing the second hottest team in the NBA. Houston, I think you said yesterday, won 6 in a row.
Now 7.
Yeah, and now 7. And they got all their dogs back. Freddie Van Vliet at point with they're healthy, and they're at home. So that was a human nature game where they're like, these Owls ain't going to beat us. You kidding me? They felt they had them every step of the way, and they got them. The Golden State Warriors were hosting Denver, sans Joker and Jamal Murray, their best 2 players. We got you every step of the way. No, they got beat. Finchy squad, something called Tony Bradley. Obi Toppin's okay. He's like a 7 or an 8 for a decent team. Little TJ McConnell running around, making it look like YMCA ball with his double-double. Wolves felt they had him every step of the way. You can't do that in hockey.
No, you cannot.
You can't. If the head's not on a swivel and you overlook any adversary, you can get beat in the National Hockey League, and that's part of the flair that makes it such a wonderfully unpredictable game. And on Gus, props to Senior Spotty, Kevin Gork. He had a hit on FanDuel last night before the game where he was talking about, in a game like this, down Kaprizov, Eriksson Ek, Brodzy, and now Foligno. Moosey's not going to play. This is a game a goalie needs, paraphrasing, this is a game the goalie has to be otherworldly.
Yeah.
A goal like this is one the goalie has to steal. And he did. And Bus was big last night.
He was big last night. And in a moment where he wasn't big, John Merrill. John Merrill saving the day. Final piece of audio, at least, that I have for you from the head coach. A proud papa indeed. They needed to dictate. They dictated. They got the goals. They got the win. Here's Heinze.
Tonight we looked more like ourselves. I thought we had good energy. We had a great competitive spirit to us. I thought our details were good. Special teams were a big factor in the game, so that helped. And that's as I said the other night, it was like the earth was falling the other night. And I told you guys we got to be ready for another game. And we got ourselves back up and running. And we're a good hockey team. We're not going to be great every single night, but tonight I give the guys a lot of credit for the mentality and the mindset we play with, and that's what we need to do.
There's 82 of these things. Do you think he had to go out of his way to at least offer a fist bump to Merrill? You think he did?
Well, yeah, it probably was a hug.
Oh, it may have been a hug.
Well, John had to persevere. look, nobody, as we established yesterday.
Is there an award for most perseverance over the course of a season?
Well, I don't know. You probably would have to contact a certain quarterback, probably in San Mateo, California right now. Who there are certain people in this world who just don't like their mental soundtrack to be the Rolling Stones. You can't always get what you want.
Yeah.
And not everybody likes to be told no. Well, I'm sure John Merrill didn't like to be told no. A couple of Voxes in the boxes ago. Who were they playing that night? Buffalo, maybe? Can't remember.
The Oil, or it was Carolina, maybe. Yeah. Carolina or the Oil. I can't remember.
Right. It wasn't the most recent one, but competitors don't want to be told no. And I understand that. So what are the alternatives here? You walk into work, and if you're a person of prayer, you ask for patience, the ability to love greater than you've ever loved, the ability to listen better than you've ever listened, and to lay back if you're not part of the plan, and to accept it and improve off of it. So that's part of perseverance, the way I see it. And clearly, Merrill was not so down on scenarios that he couldn't save the game last night.
Yeah, that's how you know it wasn't negative. That's a good point. Is the idea he could have taken earlier strife, earlier frustration.
Right.
He comes in,
right,
and then it's like, okay, you want to get loud off the ice in terms of playing time. You think you've been playing well when given the opportunity.
There it is.
Why am I odd man out?
Mm-hmm.
Here's your freaking opportunity.
Yeah.
And he affected, and it was early on in the game. So many things can change based off of that, of course.
I'm glad you brought those up because I didn't see those.
He saved the game in that spot. And ultimately, it was Zuccarello, with a team that needs guys stepping up. Mm-hmm. It's been Zuccarello of late, and Merrill in a spot last night.
And Nordo and I, we strive to not be like that was the greatest win ever.
Thank you, St. Paul.
So we don't we don't over exaggerate wins, and the Wolves last night sucked. It was a bad loss, okay, especially after. Andrew Nemhard was disqualified from the game, which meant the Indiana Pacers had to play more than half the game with 0 of their regular starting 5.
Thank you, Minneapolis.
So bad.
Miles Turner, Pascal Siakam, Tyrese Halliburton, and even Aaron Nesmith, like the 5th of the 5. Well, they all were out into the game, and then Nemhard gets tossed. And we lose.
Thank you, Minneapolis.
But is it the worst loss in the history of the Timberwolves or this season? I would say it's not even the worst loss this season. That loss at Utah, now granted without Ant, I mean that one just nips at me a little bit, but it wasn't great. And we're not trying to establish negativity power rankings here. However, here's the only way to state this with the Wild. That was a massive victory last night.
It was.
And there are several circumstances that play into it. All right. Players down. You're used to being without 97, 14, and Brodsey. And then Foligno. Now he's all of a sudden out of the covenant. And you're off what many would deem a home embarrassment to the St. Louis Blues. And by the way, during the course of the year this year, whether full strength or not, the LA Kings had beaten you by a combined score of 9-2.
Thank you, St. Paul.
Not 9-0, but 9-2. They had smoked the Wild 2 times. That was a huge win last night. By the way, it's kind of a common thread established in the chat with Chris Finch, coach of the Wolves, to start the show. Sometimes, you leave wins and or losses, and what is right and just? Tipping your cap to the adversary and jettisoning your pride. Sometimes you just need to do that. Like with T.J. McConnell and to a certain extent Obi Toppin, something called Tony Bradley.
Don't forget about Ben Shepherd.
But, Thomas Bryant, and I said this with Finchy, his defense on the last play of the game, you can't play post defense to perfection any more than he did on Julius Randle. And thus, Julius came up short, and the Pacers won. So that's a tip the cap moment. Well, I'd like to tip my cap to, this guy's one of my favorites in the National Hockey League. Anze Kopitar for the LA Kings. All right. Now, I don't know how old he is. It feels like he's approaching 40. I mean, he's right around there with Zuki. He's hockey immortality. He blocked 4 shots last night, and 2 of them absolutely had to have caused him a dramatic amount of pain. So what's unification? What's collaboration? What's a joyous culture? When your team leader and the oldest guy on the team is blocking the most shots of anybody on the team, that is team solidarity. Something the Minnesota Vikings clearly have, or they wouldn't have won all those games with Kevin O'Connell 2 of the last 3 years. Let's mix in some Vikes Bites around the corner. It's KFAN.
Back 9 to noon. It's Vikes Bites. Vikes Bites is presented by a Clearwater, Minnesota company. They are Thousand Hills lifetime grazed grass-fed beef. Go to the website. You can learn about regenerative agriculture. I can tell you, I eat this stuff and I love it. Matt and everybody, terrific product. You can get it not only online, but co-ops, Kowalski's, Coburn's locations. They're also proud sponsors of Gophers Athletics. So we thank you for that. And we thank you all for being Minnesota Vikings fans. I want to start with this news of the day and of the morning. And maybe this was inevitable in terms of next steps. Minnesota Vikings signed Ryan Kelly to a 2-year deal, longtime Colt, longtime starting center. Well, what are you going to do with the 2019 first-round pick, Garrett Bradbury? And he was released yesterday, PA. It sounded like the team was maybe in talks to try and see if they could trade him, get something in return. But ultimately, they were unable to do that. And so he has been released. And 6 years, as I texted you yesterday, mostly reliable piece of the puzzle, really good moments with Garrett Bradbury, frustrating moments as well. Went through a stretch where he was missing 3 or 4 games in a season's time, some back stuff. And a memorable 20-yard reception off the deflection. I remember one year. I think that was against the Packers.
Yeah.
But good times, bad times with Garrett Bradbury. Still very much, it appears, even, what is he, close to 30 years old now, still probably an opportunity to play in this league, but it won't be for the Minnesota Vikings any longer. Any thoughts on Garrett Bradbury's time here and summing it up and just maybe what's next for him? I've already seen people trying to make that connection. Hey, they got that new QB in Seattle.
Yeah.
Why don't they get a center that is familiar with his work in Garrett Bradbury and maybe that connection to Sam Darnold?
Yeah,
we'll see.
You know, that text you sent me last night, I took part of it and put it on the tweet machine. And you know, it's even though the reports had been Garrett Bradbury was going to be released. It goes official yesterday. Vikings tweet, we have released center Garrett Bradbury. We're appreciative of everything Garrett did in his 6 seasons in Minnesota. All right, so I gravy trained it off your text, and I'm like, negative part of the business. Ugh.
Yeah.
Many a friend he'll leave behind, me being one of them. Hashtag respect. 9 to noon producer, Mad Producer 1 just sent me a text. Quote, good dude, reliable piece of the puzzle, end quote. Couldn't have said it better. Skull 56. The part that I left out was that, you know, Garrett would constantly take hits from fans and or media because there were some visual moments where his undersized nature would get trucked and he'd get plowed.
Yeah.
And he'd get pushed back, you know, and sometimes into the quarterback's lap. All right. Well, A, he's not the first in the history of the NFL to have that happen to him. Secondly, that's fair analysis and clearly something the team felt needed improvement from a size standpoint inside. All right, now Ryan Kelly, by the way, is not like massively bigger than Garrett Bradbury, but anyway, plays a different game. It's the thing that would bug me during Bradbury's run here with analysis is he was, like you wrote, such a reliable piece that never was pointed out. That like his work with constantly having new quarterbacks and getting them up to speed in quick fashion.
Yeah.
Well, he's really good at that. One of the better I've ever seen, quite honestly. John Sullivan was good at it too. Secondly, is when he was drafted, there was a change to the Minnesota Vikings offense that was taking place. And they were going from more of a Norv Turner-led power running vertical passing team to more of a zone style team, you know, where you're going to utilize the hash marks a certain way. You're going to go east and west to get yourself north and south. And Garrett was really good at that.
He was.
And when they would call screens and Garrett chipped his first guy and he got out there left flat or right flat or wherever it was, well, he was fast enough to get the next guy. So Garrett, like you wrote, a reliable piece to what they were doing. They won a lot of games with Garrett Bradbury. For the most part, they missed him when he was gone. And quite honestly, I'm sad to see him go. But I get the business portion of the equation, and let's go Ryan Kelly. Let's move on.
Yeah, and not just working with different QBs. How many different guards did he work with over the course of his tenure, too?
Yes,
so
sir.
I think that
yes, sir.
I think he deserves a ton of respect for what he did here over the course of his 6 seasons.
Yeah.
But I am ultimately in lockstep with the opinion that we can get better at that spot.
Yeah.
And it is the opinion of the Vikings that they got better with Ryan Kelly.
Agreed.
And I'm excited to see that, hopefully from a fan standpoint, come to fruition.
Absolutely agree.
Vikes Bites! Now, as we get into things with Ben Gessling next hour, it sounds like he may have, I think you put it as, he may have new context to the conversation and the clouds that are swirling over Egan and the Vikings fan base right now.
That's what he texted me this morning.
Quick twitch, top of your head, though. I've been talking and texting with buddies about this. What do you think JJ's thinking about all of this right now, where he gets drafted, and we know that the honesty of a Kevin O'Connell is going to lay it out for him. Hey, this is a competition with you and Sam Darnold, and what this looks like. We're not going to put you out there until we truly believe that you're ready to take the reins of this thing. Cool performance against the Raiders, knee gets torn up, and we know how 2024 works out. But now, if you're JJ and you're getting healthy and you're picturing OTAs, this is, okay, we can shake off last year, learned a lot, say all the right things, but now this is my season. Well, now for the better part of a week, he's been having to sit there and exist while he's training, hearing about the Aaron Rodgers, and both sides of it, of course, those that are in favor of it happening, those that are in favor of JJ getting his chance. What do you think JJ's doing right now? How is he handling this, where he's scouring and refreshing and looking, ooh, Joe Flacco's in town. Well, I know that's a feather in my cap. Uh-oh, they're still pondering it. Uh-oh, that means Rodgers is potentially in the mix. What do you think J.J. McCarthy is doing right now mentally in terms of getting ready for the season, but still kind of being in flux with needing some finality to this?
Yeah, I think I believe J.J. McCarthy, through all of this, is the same happy-go-lucky kid that is just pining for an opportunity to play, and in the same fashion as the J.J. McCarthy they drafted. All right, so that's first and foremost. Now, I believe he flew to Michigan this weekend. A friend of mine was on his flight, and he seemed to be very gregarious and kind, as J.J. McCarthy is wont to be. Secondly, how's J.J. McCarthy handling all this? All you see on social media, I'm only on one platform, Twitter, is him like making pizzas for the needy. He's doing something philanthropic and or charitable every single week. And that's what he does to bide his time. And I find that to be very, very impressive. So that's kind of, what he's doing outside of the hullabaloo that has been created to a certain extent, but pretty much is dead now. Or at least we'll learn more potentially 10 minutes from now. Thirdly, McCarthy has the right to go into the head coach and or general manager's office and ask, here's the media report.
Yeah. These
guys are all big. What's up? Okay, now I don't know that he's done that. It could even go back to some of these foolish Sam Darnold rumors that were getting floated around. Like, hey, it behooves the Vikings, or I caught wind, not me, but somebody else, that, Sam Darnold will work on a 3-year, 2-year, whatever type deal with the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah.
How about 1-25 for Sam? Well, I don't know if JJ did it then, but he has a right, an absolute right, specifically the way this culture and this building has been set up at Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center, to knock on office doors and say, I'm generally not of the insecure variety, and I'm not being insecure right now. I just like to know what's up with this.
Yeah.
And he'll be told the truth. So I would be shocked, flabbergasted, and or blown away if over the last week and change, J.J. McCarthy and or Kevin O'Connell or whomever with the team have not gotten squared away on what the rumors are and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's the reason I even brought it up, and I not to say that I knew what you were going to respond with, but that was in line with what I was thinking. It's just throughout this entire thing, people are, hey, here's what Rodgers says on McAfee. I hate him. Here's why Rodgers can take this team to a Super Bowl. I love him. And you've gotten all that back and forth over the last week, but there hasn't been a lot of conversation. Well, if you make this decision, how does that impact J.J. McCarthy? How does that, he has to be, in some ways, he's not going to be in the meeting room with Kevin O'Connell as he ultimately makes the final decision. But however this ends up, all of this has to be with McCarthy's mindset in mind and the development path, right? So, whether it's free agency, we want to get more financially flexible here. So this is why we aren't going to jump for this big name available in free agency. It has to be the same in terms of sticking to the plan with the QB. And so, but he's riding it out. As you mentioned, he's doing some charity bits. It's his off season, maybe still trying to put some weight on and be ready. Maybe take the reins in 2025 because it's J.J. McCarthy's season.
In closing with this, I have a lot of respect for McCarthy. I don't know who his agent is, but that whole camp and, to a certain extent, which would be a 9 of 10, the football team, the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah.
Because now, I have sources too. So I just don't tap on them as frequently as other people because 9 to noon is not your breaking news leader. But nevertheless, if I feel required to tap on them, I will. So, as I've shared, the majority of the reports leading to the rumors are coming from the Aaron Rodgers side of the equation. Okay? And that leads to the level of respect I have and just how organized and squared away you are when you're McCarthy and or his representation or even family members feeding stuff to people. Nobody fed any of the heavy hitters anything from the team side. The team did, no leaks coming from there. Also, from McCarthy and or his side, I don't believe any leaks coming from there. So they just sat back and let people do their thing.
How about this? With Gessling around the corner.
Yeah, he's waiting for us.
Well, and he might be missing this because he's stuck in the elevator lobby. The Vikings, per Shefty, just signed Jeff Okudah to a 1-year deal. So we can mix that in with Mr. Gessling around the corner.
Who is next? He covers the Vikings for the Star Tribune. Into the second hour with the Scribe on KFAN.